Welcome back to the Dylan Shea channel. Since I last made a video 2 months ago, a lot has happened in the football world. Saudi League has completely transformed every single player, and their mum has been linked with a move to the Saudi League. Bellingham has gone to Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich have put in two of the most embarrassing bids of all time in for Harry Kane. I mean, seriously, really. And I only lost one subscriber somehow, so not too bad. I want to talk about Spurs, which is something I haven't been able to say for about 12 months. That's because I think Tottenham might be good. I'm actually very positive about Spurs, which, to be fair, was last year as well, and how did that turn out? Not great. But I actually think Spurs are going to be one of the most underrated teams in the Premier League this season. Is this annoying? I feel like this is making a lot of noise. Now, I'm not saying everything is rosy at Spurs. I will get on to that later in the video, things I think, what are we doing? So the first reason I'm very excited is Ange Postecoglou. Now, he's completely different to the other Spurs managers. Now, for me personally, I liked the other two Spurs managers, Conte and Mourinho. I just guess the philosophy at Spurs isn't really spending 200 mil every transfer window, so they was never really going to work as managers at Tottenham. But also, Tottenham is about attacking football, which is exactly what Ange Postecoglou is about and what Antonio Conte and Mourinho are not. Postecoglou is so attacking. He's all about getting the ball to the best players on the pitch. He even actually said that in a recent interview, that the one thing he learned about Puskas was if you're a left back, don't just keep the ball, get it to the best players as soon as possible, basically. And I'm actually going to quickly talk about the friendly today against West Ham that happened earlier. So Spurs played West Ham earlier in a friendly, lost 3-2, but honestly, it's probably the best loss I've seen us ever have. We were really, really good. There were star players. I thought Yves Bissouma is looking very good at the moment. Seems to be a lot happier. Giovanni Lo Celso, actually, when he came on, was fantastic as well, which was very surprising. Destiny, I think it's Udogie is how you say it, looks really good, really powerful, a willing runner on the ball, which is what I saw today. But it was just actually really refreshing just to see us get on the ball and push up. Now, our defenders let us down massively, which is something I'll talk about in this video. But yeah, I think it looks quite promising. But one of the main reasons as well why I think Spurs will be really good is James Maddison. Now, I've been an admirer of James Maddison for 3 or 4 years at this point. I think he's an amazing Premier League player. I think he's at a really high standard in the Premier League. And I think it's an incredible signing for Spurs. Last year, he got 10 goals, 9 assists for Leicester in a Leicester City side that came 18th, I think. Season before that, he got 12 goals, 8 assists. So he's around about that 20 goal contributions a season mark in a very poor Leicester side, which is very impressive. And it's just what we need, it's what Spurs have been craving for since Eriksen in 2019. So it's been 4 years, really. We've been wanting a player like this. Lo Celso hasn't really worked out, or Ndombele either. And it actually looked like Lo Celso was going to leave. I'm not sure now after that performance today. He looked really good. Obviously scored as well, but the overall performance was just fantastic. And Ndombele, I'm not really sure what happens there. It's going to be interesting what he does, because I still think Ndombele is I think he's our most talented player. I think he's one of the most talented in the world. Even Gareth Bale said he's the player that surprised him the most in training. Couldn't believe how good he was. But I have 0% chance, hope that it's going to work at all, because I just think he doesn't have the mentality for it. He's just a bit lazy. And speaking about that midfield, I think it's a really strong midfield Tottenham have now. You're going to have that CDM, Bissouma. I think you're going to have James Maddison, and then Bentancur as well. And I think that three is really strong. That's one of the best in the Premier League, without a doubt. And then your backups, you've got Højbjerg, Skip, Pape Sarr, Lo Celso probably, who will stay now. I think it's really good depth and a really good starting three. I think Bentancur is one of the best in the world in his position. I sound so deluded. I sound so deluded, don't I? Really do. I mean, we were awful last year. And here I am saying how good we are. I shouldn't think we're going to be this good, but I think we are actually going to be very good. But Bentancur is actually so good. I'm not lying. I'm not just being biased. He is. You know, he's extremely press-proof. He doesn't give the ball away ever. He is extremely hard-working, which is something you don't always find in a sort of number 8 player, a centre mid. You know, he even got 5 goals last year in the Premier League. You know, Bissouma, I think, will be much better under Postecoglou. I think we've even seen a lot more of Bissouma in pre-season. Obviously, you haven't if you're not a Spurs fan, but Spurs fans will know how much more we've seen Bissouma in pre-season than, well, last year. I was thinking maybe we should go for a player like Conor Gallagher, and I still would take Conor Gallagher. I think he's really good. I think he's so underrated. I think that first 3 quarters of the season at Palace, he was really special. And he's actually really good for this system too, which is a high pressing, really attacking style of play. I think that's what Conor Gallagher excels in. I don't think he's the sort of Chelsea type of player. I think that was the most obvious thing that was going to happen ever, was that he was going to do badly at Chelsea. Then everyone thinks he's this average midfielder. But he was ridiculous at Crystal Palace. He really was. Just ask any Palace fan how good Conor Gallagher is. But I think he'd be amazing for us in that advanced 8 role. With the Celso now sort of coming back, I don't know, but I'd still like to see it. I think he's a really good player. Tottenham are also linked with 2 centre-backs. This is where life as a Spurs fan starts to get so annoying, because it's things like this where you're like, today we've seen an example, right, of Davinson Sanchez being bad and us conceding because of it. There's 2 centre-backs there. Mickey Van Den, who's linked with Liverpool, linked with a lot of big clubs, and is a really good player, really quick. I think would suit this Ange system, you know, playing a high line. And then you have Edmund Tapsoba, who's one of the youngest, one of the most exciting young centre-backs in the world, for 40 million, by the way. And we're doing a deal. We're negotiating for both players, but we're only going to sign one of them, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Just sign both. I think Mickey Van Den can play left back as well. I mean, we just need both of them. We cannot sign one centre back this season. But if we do sign both, I think we're so good. If we sign one, I think we're, you know, top 4 contenders, maybe top Europa League. But I really do think Spurs are a really good team if they sign 2 very good centre-backs like those. I think one would be a bit concerning, but I still think one would be good. But really, Spurs need 2 centre-backs. You know, we have Christian Romero anyway, who I rate very highly. I just think he needs someone else next to him as well. But what will be interesting is the fullback situation, because, I mean, today we saw Porro, and then I think we looked a lot better actually when Emerson was on the pitch. I think Emerson probably just gives that more stability than Porro, but Porro is so attacking. So is Udogie. I mean, we really could go all-out attack. We could lose 6-0 in some games, I think. With those fullbacks, if it's Porro and Udogie, those centre-backs and midfield will be required to do so much work, and relying on Eric Dyer, Davinson Sanchez, Ben Davis isn't enough. Romero cannot carry that defence on his own. He needs reinforcements, he needs other players there to help him out, and Tapsoba, Mickey Van Den would be perfect. Cannot leave it like it is at the moment, because, I mean, earlier, the 3rd goal, just watch it, it's awful. Postecoglou, what he's done before, what I've been reading anyway, in his last year at Celtic, was sometimes go to a 3 at the back. Now, I find this interesting because I could see how this worked, especially if we got Tapsoba and Mickey Van Den, but I do think it'll just be that 4 at the back that he will stick to. Now, there are a few things that really do concern me though about Spurs. I'm not completely deluded. I do think there are some real things to worry about. First thing is a Maddison injury. Yeah, it's worrying because the Lo Celso situation now means if we do sell Lo Celso, we do really need to bring someone in, like a Gallagher or anyone. Because if Maddison's injured, we're back to square one, where we have been for the last 3 years with no creative midfielder, and Harry Kane has to drop so deep And he's had a few injury problems in the past, James Maddison, so we need to get that covered. Another one is, like I've mentioned, Spurs signing one centre-back is just ridiculous. We cannot sign one centre-back, we have to sign two. Cannot give Eric Dyer a chance. After last year, him and Sanchez shouldn't play for Spurs ever again. There's nothing against them personally, obviously, but, you know, the performances don't warrant a new contract or more games. We must have dropped, I would say, 18 points from those two alone. I genuinely think it was about 18 points. Another one is, I am really not sure how good the goalkeeper is at all. Visario, I literally just had to search up his name because I forgot it. Yeah, you know, we went for the cheaper option instead of Raya. I can't blame them loads because it was going to cost about 30 million, probably for Raya, or 35 million for a keeper who has 1 year left on his contract. But the thing is, he was proven, David Raya. Whereas Visario, I really have no idea. But he did make some decent saves earlier, I will say. And there's still a lot of dead wood at the club. Like I've mentioned, Sanchez and Dyer. There's still Lloris at the moment. There's still Rodon. There's still Ryan Sessegnon as well. There's still Sergio Reguilon. There's still Ivan Perisic, who people are saying had a good game earlier. He didn't. From open play, he really offers nothing. From corners, he is fantastic, but, you know, you can't just keep a player for corners. And obviously Brian Gill, what do we do with him? I don't really know. We've signed Solomon now, another left winger. So Brian Gill is probably going to have to leave. And the front three is a really weird one because let's start with Richarlison. He's a player I rate. I think he can play up front for Spurs. That was a really worrying performance earlier from him against West Ham. But I think he's shown enough at Everton and at Brazil. I thought he was amazing in the World Cup for Brazil. The two wingers, Kulusevski and Son, were really poor last year. Son, I don't know if he's past it or not. I'm really not sure. Kulusevski was really poor. The thing is with Kulusevski is he really is a world-class talent. I mean, as Son is as well. They're both world-class talents. So I think Kulusevski definitely will be better. I don't think Conte's system after a long period of time suited him. Hopefully with Postecoglou's more attacking sort of play style, him and Son can get back to their best. And Kane, this whole video is really if Kane stays, because if Kane doesn't stay, then I really don't know how good or bad we are. I think if there is a bid over 100 million plus, then we should sell. But yeah, and play Richarlison, and I think we'll be fine. Just not as good as I'm making out in this video because we got Harry Kane, who scored 30 goals for a team who finished 8th last year, which I don't think maybe has ever been done before. And I think if that front three can return to form, you look at that midfield three, if Spurs then sign one centre-back, which, I mean, they have to sign one of them, I think it's looking very positive for Tottenham Hotspur. And with Spurs being underdogs as well, I think it really suits them because I don't think anyone thinks Spurs are going to have a good season. I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs finished in the top 4 next year. I really wouldn't. Now, it's going to be tricky because the top 8 or 10 in the Premier League is without a doubt the best it's ever been. But I think Spurs are a really, really good team. I think half of Postecoglou's job is done for him just by going attacking, because I think we'll just improve so much more just by that switch. Never mind transfers and players' morale and all those type of things as well. And that is the end of the video. Like I mentioned before, if you've enjoyed it, hit the like. It would be very much appreciated. Where do you think Spurs are going to finish next year in the Premier League? Thank you for watching.